Senator Richard Blumenthal began the debate by expressing his gratitude to Governor Kristi Noem. He acknowledged the sacrifices made by her family, particularly her uncle who tragically passed away in the line of duty as a firefighter. Blumenthal's tone was respectful, but he quickly moved to the heart of the issue: potential political bias in the allocation of disaster relief funding. Blumenthal, known for his staunch advocacy for government accountability, voiced concerns about the criteria used to determine which states receive aid and how much they get. He stressed the importance of fairness, emphasizing that disaster relief should be allocated based on need, not political affiliation. The senator argued that a transparent and objective process.
Thanks, Senator Johnson. Welcome, Governor Noem, and thank you for being here. Thank you for visiting with me, and thank you to your family for their service as well. Let me begin on a high note, thanking Senator Hawley for his leadership on the effort that I led with him to essentially get some basic facts out of the Secret Service when we were investigating, Senator Johnson and I, as leaders of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation, helping to lead it with the chairman and ranking member here. And I'm hoping that you've read our report and that you will agree to begin implementing its recommendations, which call for major reforms, in my view, a house cleaning top to bottom in the Secret Service, and greater transparency with this committee and with the American public.
Regardless of where they live or who they voted for. Blumenthal's concerns resonated with many Americans who have witnessed the devastating impacts of natural disasters in recent years. The increasing frequency and intensity of these events, coupled with partisan gridlock in Washington, have fueled anxieties about the government's ability to respond effectively and equitably to the needs of disaster-stricken communities.
Yes, sir. I will certainly work with you to do that and to work to make sure that we have that transparency and the committee has the information that it needs to do due diligence of its oversight.
Our investigation is continuing.
Yep.
Senator Johnson and I have discussed it, and we will be making more requests to pursue the fact-finding that is so important. I want to ask you about disaster relief. California is on fire. The fires raging there are going to leave destruction and devastation that is heartbreaking. I am really disappointed with some of the statements that President-elect Trump has made. For example, saying that, quote, "We won't give him," referring to Governor Newsom, "money to put out all his fires, and if we don't give him money to put out fires, he's got a problem."
Blumenthal, while acknowledging Governor Noem's commitment to fairness, pressed for greater transparency and accountability in the disaster relief process. He called for clearer guidelines and metrics to be used in determining aid allocations, emphasizing the need for a system that is both fair and perceived as fair by the American people. Blumenthal argued that a lack of transparency could erode public trust in the government's ability to respond effectively to disasters. He proposed the creation of an independent oversight committee to review disaster relief funding decisions, ensuring that they are free from political influence and aligned with the needs of affected communities. Blumenthal's push for transparency reflects a broader trend of increasing demands for accountability from elected officials, particularly regarding the allocation of public funds.
Elsewhere, I need to know from you, will you stand up to the president and say, no, the Constitution and the Impoundment Act requires us, for example, to allocate the $100 billion that we have just appropriated in the last session to states like Connecticut, $3 million, Texas, $10 million, almost every one of the states represented here. Will you say no to the president if he withholds that money?
Sir, I don't know about the scenarios that you're referencing with President Trump, but what I will tell you is that if given the chance to be Secretary of Homeland Security, that I will deliver the programs according to the law and that it will be done with no political bias. And if the programs change or if you decide to change the rule of law, then I will follow that while adhering to the Constitution.
So you pledge to allocate and distribute that $100 billion?
according to how the program is written with no political bias. Every American deserves to be there and have disaster relief the same as their neighbors.
Basically following the law.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Senator Peters asked you about homegrown terrorists. The New Orleans tragedy was the result of a homegrown terrorist born in this country, radicalized by ISIS. And it reflects the reason why the intelligence community, the FBI, almost all of our law enforcement has said repeatedly, domestic violent extremism is the most lethal and persistent threat to our security. That terrorist was radicalized by ISIS. The investigation is underway. We don't know all the facts, but we do know that he was a military veteran, and ISIS was responsible for radicalizing him. Shouldn't we focus on ISIS as a threat to this country's security?
The senator argued that open and transparent governance is essential to maintaining public trust and ensuring that disaster relief efforts are effective and equitable.
The CIA to make sure they're working together to stop these types of threats and identify when they're growing among our citizens. And
the specifics of disaster relief distribution, Senator Blumenthal and Governor Noem found common ground in their shared commitment to protecting the American people. Both acknowledged the devastating impact of natural disasters and the importance of providing timely and effective assistance to those in need. The debate highlighted the challenges of balancing competing priorities in disaster relief, including fairness, efficiency, and accountability. While Blumenthal emphasized the need for transparency and oversight to prevent political bias, Noem stressed the importance of trusting elected officials to make informed decisions based on the needs of their constituents. Ultimately, the debate underscored the crucial role of government in responding to disasters and the ongoing need for dialogue and collaboration to ensure that relief efforts are effective, equitable, and serve the best interests of all Americans. The exchange between Senator Blumenthal and Governor Noem served as a reminder that while disagreements may arise, the shared goal of protecting American lives and livelihoods should remain paramount.